He was the legendary leader of the ninjas. His eyes held the feared Sharingan. It was a power that could see through any illusion. It could copy any move. Madara's presence was like a dark storm. His ninjas moved silently behind him. They were shadows, ready to strike from the darkness. Madara's black hair flowed in the wind. His armor was a deep, menacing red. He looked at the field before him. He saw an army that was his equal. He felt a thrill of excitement. This would be a battle for the ages, a true test of his strength and will. Opposite him stood Sosuke Aizen. He was the calm and powerful leader of the samurai. Aizen's smile was gentle, but his eyes held a cold, calculating power. He held his katana, Kyoka Suigetsu. This sword was famous. It was said to control the senses of anyone who saw it. His samurai stood in perfect formation behind him. They were a wall of steel and honor. Their armor gleamed under the sun. They were disciplined and ready. Aizen's white haori fluttered around him. It made him look like a divine figure. He was a master of strategy. He saw the battlefield as a chessboard. Every move was planned. Every outcome was considered. He was ready for the chaos the ninjas would bring. Madara was a force of nature. He was born from a world of constant war. He believed that true peace could only be achieved through absolute power. He wanted to create a world where there was no more fighting. But his method was to control everyone's dreams. He was a master of ninjutsu. He could summon giant meteors from the sky. He could create clones from wood. His power was immense. It was destructive. His ninjas followed him not just out of fear. They followed him because they believed in his strength. They believed he could change the world. They saw him as a savior, a dark messiah who would end all suffering. Aizen was a master of the mind. He came from a world with strict rules and traditions. He believed that the world was flawed. It was built on lies. He wanted to tear it all down. He wanted to sit on the empty throne of heaven. He was a perfect swordsman. His movements were like a graceful dance, but they were deadly. His greatest weapon was his intellect. He could manipulate his enemies. He could turn their friends against them. His samurai followed him because of his charisma. He promised them a new world order. He promised them a place of glory. He made them believe that his ambition was their own destiny, a path to ultimate truth. Ninjas and samurai were very different. They were like night and day. The ninjas, under Madara's command, were masters of stealth and deception. They did not fight with honor. They fought to win. They used tricks and secret techniques. They moved in the shadows. They could hide in plain sight. A ninja's greatest weapon was surprise. They used kunai, shuriken, and paper bombs. They could create illusions to confuse their enemies. They believed that the mission was more important than any rule. They were spies and assassins. Their purpose was to complete their task by any means necessary, leaving no trace behind them, like ghosts in the wind. The samurai, led by Aizen, were the opposite. They followed a strict code of honor called Bushido. This code valued loyalty, courage, and discipline above all else. A samurai's life was dedicated to their master and their sword. They fought face to face. They believed in a fair fight. Their armor was strong. It was designed for direct combat. Their main weapon was the katana. It was more than just a sword. It was their soul. A samurai would rather die than face dishonor. They were proud warriors. They believed that the way you fight is just as important as winning the battle. Their strength came from their unity and their unwavering discipline. The training of a ninja started from a young age. They learned how to be silent. They learned how to endure pain. They studied the art of espionage. They learned how to gather information without being seen. They also learned powerful jutsu. These were special techniques that used their inner energy, called chakra. They could control elements like fire, water, and earth. A ninja's mind was their most important tool. They had to be creative. They had to adapt to any situation. They were trained to think like their enemies. This allowed them to predict their opponent's moves and set clever traps that could turn the tide of any conflict. The training of a samurai was also rigorous. It focused on mastering the sword. They practiced for hours every day. They perfected their stances and their strikes. But their training was not just physical. They also studied philosophy, poetry, and art. They learned to control their emotions. A calm mind was essential in a duel. They believed that a true warrior must be strong in both body and spirit. Their discipline was legendary. They could stand perfectly still for hours. They could march for days without complaint. This mental fortitude made them incredibly resilient. It made them a formidable force on the battlefield, an unbreakable wall of steel and will. The battle began with a deafening roar. Madara did not wait. He made the first move. He performed a series of hand signs. A massive wall of fire erupted from his mouth. It raced across the field. The flames were like a giant tidal wave. They threatened to swallow the entire samurai army. This was a show of overwhelming power. It was designed to create fear and chaos. Behind this wall of fire, his ninjas moved. They used the smoke and confusion as cover. They threw smoke bombs. They set explosive traps. Their strategy was to disorient the samurai. They wanted to break their perfect formations. They aimed to turn the orderly battlefield into a chaotic mess where their stealth would be an advantage. Aizen remained calm. He had anticipated such a direct assault. He raised his hand. His samurai captain stepped forward. They created a massive spiritual barrier. The barrier shimmered like glass. It stopped Madara's fire attack. The flames crashed against it and disappeared. Aizen's strategy was to use defense to create an opportunity. While the ninjas were focused on their initial attack, his samurai advanced. They moved in tight, coordinated groups. They protected each other with their large shields. Their movements were precise. They were like a single giant organism. They did not rush. They marched forward slowly, a patient and unstoppable force of steel. Madara's ninjas adapted quickly. They split into smaller groups. They used their speed to run along the flanks of the samurai army. They climbed trees and hid underground. They launched surprise attacks from all directions. One group used earth-style jutsu to create pitfalls. Another used water-style jutsu to create a thick mist. The goal was to isolate small groups of samurai. A single ninja might not beat a single samurai in a direct fight, but 5 ninjas attacking from the shadows could easily overwhelm one. They used guerrilla tactics. They struck hard and fast, then vanished before the samurai could counterattack, making the battlefield a maze of danger. Aizen's strategy relied on his ultimate weapon, his sword, Kyoka Suigetsu. He had already released its power. The ninjas thought they were fighting samurai, but it was all an illusion. They were attacking each other. They were falling into their own traps. Aizen had made them see what he wanted them to see. His samurai were not where they appeared to be. They were safely positioned, watching the ninjas destroy themselves. Aizen's plan was not to overpower the ninjas with force. It was to defeat them with their own minds. He turned their greatest strength, their reliance on deception, into their greatest weakness. He was the master of a flawless, cruel, and perfect illusion. Madara was not a normal ninja. He could see through illusions. His Sharingan pierced Aizen's deception. He saw his ninjas fighting phantoms. He saw them attacking their own comrades. A wave of fury washed over him. He activated his ultimate form, the Susanoo. A giant, ethereal warrior made of blue chakra formed around him. It was a god of destruction. Madara inspired his remaining ninjas with this display of pure power. He shouted, "Wake up! Our true enemy is one man!" His voice cut through the confusion. His ninjas saw the Susanoo. Their belief in Madara returned. They rallied to him, their spirits reignited by his immense presence and unwavering resolve. Aizen smiled. The game was becoming interesting. He saw Madara's giant Susanoo. He knew that a direct confrontation was now inevitable. He turned to his samurai. They were shaken by the sight of the giant chakra avatar. But Aizen's calm was infectious. He spoke to them. His voice was steady and reassuring. "Do not fear what you do not understand," he said. "True strength lies not in size but in conviction. Trust in your blade. Trust in your spirit. Trust in me." His words were like a powerful spell. They strengthened the hearts of his warriors. They raised their katanas. Their combined fighting spirit created a golden aura around them, ready to face the god of destruction. The final clash was cataclysmic. Madara's Susanoo swung its massive sword. The attack could slice mountains in half, but Aizen met the blade with his own katana. The collision created a shockwave that flattened the entire battlefield. The battle was decided in this single moment. Madara's power was destructive. It came from hatred and a desire for control. Aizen's power was subtle. It came from manipulation and the complete control of his opponent's senses. While Madara was focused on the grand destructive attack, Aizen had already won. The Madara he was fighting was just another illusion. The real Aizen appeared behind Madara, his blade already at the ninja leader's throat. The battle ended not with a bang, but with a whisper. Aizen was the victor. His strategy of perfect illusion had defeated Madara's overwhelming power. The surviving ninjas retreated, carrying their defeated leader. The samurai had won, but the cost was high. The battlefield was a testament to the destructive nature of both ideologies. The battle taught a hard lesson. Brute force alone cannot win against a flawless strategy, and deception can be a double-edged sword. For Madara, it was a humiliating defeat, forcing him to reconsider the limits of power. For Aizen, it was another step towards his ultimate goal, proving that the mind is the most powerful weapon of all.